They say time erases wounds, but some wounds never heal. Some memories refuse to fade, no matter how much you try to bury them. I have told this story only once before, and even then, I left out details, not because I wanted to, but because I was afraid. Afraid of what people would think. Afraid of what might happen if I spoke too much. You see, I was a police constable in 1998, in a small town outside Lahore, Pakistan. Back then, I was young, eager, and ambitious. I thought the world was simple. There were criminals, there were victims, and justice always found its way. But that was before Amina Sultan disappeared. I remember the morning her father came to the station. It was just before sunrise, and I was the only officer on duty. The room smelled of stale tea and damp paper, and the only sounds were the ticking clock and the distant barking of a street dog. Then the door burst open, and Sultan Malik staggered in. His clothes were wrinkled, his face pale. His hands shook as he placed them on my desk. "My daughter," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "She's missing." At first, I assumed she had run away. Maybe a lover's escape, maybe an argument at home. It wasn't uncommon, but then I saw the look in his eyes. This wasn't panic. This was something else. "What happened?" I asked. He told me that Amina had gone to a friend's house the evening before. Sana, her childhood friend, lived just 10 minutes away. Amina had left around 8 p.m., but she never made it home. They searched all night, asked neighbors, checked hospitals. Nothing. I took down the report, and within an hour, our team was out searching. That's when we found the first clue. Less than a kilometer from her house, near an old abandoned well, her dupatta was tangled in the bushes. It was torn, as if caught by something or someone. Next to it, her sandal lay neatly on the ground, too perfectly placed. It was unsettling, but what made my skin crawl was the well itself. The villagers always spoke of it in hushed whispers. It had been there for decades, maybe centuries. No one knew its exact depth. They said it was cursed, that those who got too close heard strange voices. Some claimed that, on certain nights, a woman's cries echoed from within. Superstitions, I had always thought, until that moment. We peered inside. It was pitch black, the damp air thick with decay. We sent a man down, using ropes and flashlights. He searched for nearly half an hour. Nothing. No body. No evidence. Just a well that seemed to breathe with the wind. For 3 days, the entire town searched for Amina. Posters were put up. Rewards were offered. We questioned everyone. Her family, her friends, her father's employees. No one had seen her. And then, strange things began to happen. On the 4th night, her younger brother, Hamza, came running to the police station, his face pale as death. "I saw her," he panted. "I swear on my life, I saw Amina." "Where?" I demanded. "In our courtyard, at midnight. She was just standing there." "What did she say?" He shook his head. "Nothing. She just stood there, barefoot, in the same white dress she left in. But her eyes, they weren't hers." "What do you mean?" "They were hollow." I didn't understand what he meant at the time. But then, others started seeing her too. A shopkeeper claimed he saw Amina peering into his store window late at night. A woman said she spotted her walking past her house, her feet barely touching the ground. A farmer swore he saw her standing near the well, staring into the abyss. Each time someone tried to approach, she disappeared. By the 6th day, fear had gripped the town. People locked their doors early. Children weren't allowed outside after dark. The villagers whispered of jinns, of spirits that take human form. And then, on the 7th morning, after a night of heavy rain, the well overflowed. And it gave up its secret. Amina's body surfaced, bloated and pale. Her long hair floated around her face. Her arms were stiff, her fingers curled like claws. We pulled her out, expecting signs of struggle, bruises, broken bones. but there were none. She looked untouched, except for one thing. Her nails were broken, as if she had been clawing at something. And when the coroner examined her body, he found mud inside her lungs. She hadn't drowned before she was thrown in. She had been alive when she fell. The most disturbing part, she had been missing for 7 days. But according to the coroner, she had been dead for no more than 48 hours. That meant, for 5 days after she disappeared, Amina was still alive. But where? Theories spread like wildfire. Some said she had been kidnapped, held captive somewhere. Others whispered that she had been taken by something not of this world, that she had been trapped between realms. One old man, who had lived in the village for over 80 years, told me something that still haunts me. The well is not just a well, he said. It is a doorway. Some who go in never come out, and some who come out were never meant to return. I dismissed it as the ramblings of an old man. But that night, I dreamt of Amina. She stood at the foot of my bed, her white dress soaked, her hair clinging to her face. Her lips never moved, but I heard her voice, as clear as my own thoughts. "They put me back," she whispered, "but I was never supposed to return." I woke up in a cold sweat, my body shaking, and for the first time in my life, I was truly afraid. The case was closed as an accidental drowning. The official report stated that Amina must have fallen in and gotten trapped, though it never explained the missing days. It never explained the sightings. It never explained how her body was found wearing the same white dress, spotless, without a single stain, when we all knew she had been buried in the mud of that well. Years passed. I left the force, moved to another city. But even now, when I close my eyes, I see her standing there, her hollow eyes staring back at me from the darkness. And I know, deep down, that some mysteries are not meant to be solved.